Today, we're getting social on the Brilliant Business, Beautiful Life podcast. We're joined by the vivacious, wonderful Jenn Donovan from Social Media and Marketing Australia. Jenn is a social media marketing consultant who takes you from invisible to invincible. I love that saying. She is a true multi-passionate entrepreneur. She's a country girl and she has her finger in so many pies, it just makes my head spin. So I'm really excited to have her on the show today. Jenn specializes in helping startups in rural and regional Australia build their business through online and offline marketing, social media, and building a community. And she lives on a farm in the Riverina area of New South Wales. I hope I got that right, Jenn. And she loves her rural life and being an active member of that community too. She's also the founder of Buy from a Bush Business, which has over 380,000 members. She's the co-founder of Spend With Us, Buy from a Bush Business marketplace, and is also the host of the podcast Small Business Made Simple. So welcome, Jenn. And yeah, you've got so many things on the go. Your passion is amazing. So yeah,
Thank you. Thanks so much, Samantha. It's been, it's so good to have a bit of a chat to you today. It's always a little bit awkward when someone's reading your bio out and you're thinking, oh, did I do that? Is that right? Oh, yes, that is true. Yes, but no, it's always wonderful to have your business life summarized. So
Yeah,
thank you.
it's amazing. I'm just so, like I said before, you're multi-passionate. You got your finger everywhere. So how did it all start? Tell me about you and your journey and how you came to do what you're doing today, because I'm sure there's a lot of stories there.
There probably is a lot of stories. I guess as a marketing person, I sleep, breathe, and dream marketing. Basically, it really is the thing that lights me up when I get to talk about it on podcasts like this and with clients and things like that. But I'm very much a see a problem, solve a problem type of person. I think that's how I end up in all sorts of different areas. It's like, oh, there's a problem. I could solve that problem.
I
So
love
I guess, winding the clock right back, I started my career in law and then I did that for about 15 or 18 years type of thing. And as my story goes, my best friend and I had way too much wine to drink one night and we just decided to throw in our corporate jobs and buy a shop. We were like, let's get a business together. How good would it be just to, run a business together and, not have so much stress and things like that. So I think within 4 weeks, we'd found this rundown shop in our local community. We bought it and it was kind of like, oh, wow, we have no retail experience between us. We have
that.
literally no idea what we're doing. I guess at the start, we did it just to play shops. We just did it because we just wanted to have some fun. But it wasn't long after that that I kind of realized that this could actually be a really good business. It had really good bones to do something with. And that's pretty much where I found my love for marketing.
That's
If you want to grow a
amazing.
business in a rural area or a regional area during a drought, you got to kind of learn to market yourself.
You certainly do. Like you really just jumped in, head
Yep.
first, diving in, starting before you were ready, all those big, amazing
Yeah.
things. It would have been, I guess you were filled with obviously joy and passion and just so, yes, we can do this. Did you have moments of like, oh my goodness, what have I just signed up for?
The very first day when we got the keys, that was the thought of, oh no, I've thrown in my law career for this. What have I
Yeah.
done? So very much so. But I think, one of the things we did very early on, which I didn't know was going to be really impactful, but turned out it was we kind of had what we term our first partners meeting, which was really just lunch at the pub on a Saturday afternoon after we shut the shop. And it was kind of like, let's do this for 7 years. This isn't us. We're not retailers, but we're going to have some fun. Let's do it for 7 years and see how we go. And I think that one decision was kind of like we based everything off that. Should
Mhm.
we get this brand in? Well, will that help us sell in 7 years? Should we move to a different premises? Will that help us sell in 7 years? So it's without knowing it, we'd made this really big start with the end in mind goal, but we just kind of based every decision that we made. Every decision's probably a little bit big, but big decisions that we made, we based against that one goal. And I think that was probably one of the best things that we could have done.
Yeah.
And we sold in after 6.5 years, and we sold 3 days after we put it on the markets because we had been working
Wow.
towards this thing for 6.5 years. And after that, I'd always had a mentor in my business helping me with marketing and teaching me. And he actually asked me to go in business with him. So I went into business with him, and we traveled the country doing marketing and social media to all the small business owners that we could get in front of, mostly in capital cities. And I have to say, when you were reading my bio, it always makes me a little bit, I guess, smile with some memories of, wind the clock back probably 4 years. I would never have told you I was from a farm or that I lived in the Riverina. I thought that people wouldn't take me seriously if I didn't come from a capital city.
Really?
And so
That's
that's kind
interesting.
of something I've really embraced, over the last couple of years is, it's actually a bit of a superpower, and why not lead into it? So it's funny how life just keeps giving you all these lessons.
Absolutely. You're comparing yourself to other people and the big
Yeah.
guys who've been around for a long time, and everything is so city focused. So it would have been amazing for the rural community to see someone just really going out there and making a success of what they chose to do and jumping in.
Yeah.
Would have been
Yeah, look, I think
inspiring.
that's the way I feel now, but it's certainly not the way I felt back
Felt
then. And
then.
I think like the pandemic did so many negative things, but I think it gave us some really big gifts as well, because
Yeah.
one of the gifts it gave me was I worked from home, from my home office on my farm, which I didn't think people would think was a serious business. And then the pandemic came and everyone was working from home, and I was
That's
kind of
it.
like, I was kind of like, a futuristic entrepreneur. "Oh, I've been doing this for years," type of thing. So it was kind of,
Absolutely.
I felt like people, again, I could talk about it and I could say it because people could realize, oh, you can run a really successful business from home in your home office, that you've converted a bedroom into an office and things like that. So yeah, it's just funny how,
It's
and
just
it's
that
more all
perception,
my
isn't
inner
it?
thinking. Like
Yeah.
no one ever said that to me. It was all about me
Yes,
thinking it.
yes.
Mm.
That's so important, because it's what we think and what we say to
Yeah.
ourselves. That's our own perception, and it's got nothing to do with what your clients think or what the rest of the world thinks. And plenty of businesses have been built in the wardrobe. People podcasting with cushions around them in their wardrobe, or
It's so
their
true.
business in the
Mm.
bedroom. And it's wonderful, and that's a perception that we had because we were all brought up. A real business is a brick and mortar place. And now,
Mm.
like you said, since COVID, it's all changed. It's fabulous. But I'm really interested to know why you chose the number 7. When you're talking about setting up your business, everything had a 7-year focus, which is, people talk about their 1-year plan, their 5-year plan, but you've come up with the number 7, and that was your focus, and everything was worked around that. And then you beat your 7-year goal by 6 months. You sold it 6.5 years. So yeah, where did
Yeah.
7 come from?
Oh, Samantha, I wish I had a really good answer for that, but I'm actually in the middle of writing a marketing book at the moment. It's all about marketing your rural and regional small business, which hopefully, people might actually get to see at some stage if I ever finish it. But that's one of my stories. And I have to say, I really don't know where 7 come from. 7, like I wonder whether it was kind of, um, sorry, people talk about like the 70 inch or something like that. But
Yeah,
I don't remember having a conversation of, should we do it for 10 years? Should we do it for 5 years? It was kind of like, let's just do it for 7 and see how we go.
yeah.
I honestly don't know where the number 7 came from, but it was really good timing. And I think my business partner, who had been my best friend since I was 14, She's still my best friend. We still catch up every single day. She was ready and I wasn't. So it was about the 6.5-year mark. She's like, I want out. And I was devastated for like 3 days going, but I've got so many more dreams and so many more things I want to do with this business. And, sometimes as your best friend knows, they know you better than you know yourself. And it was probably the best gift she could have ever given me
Yeah.
is to exit that business and go on to do bigger, better, brighter things.
It's really proof that what you set your mind to and what you attach to, and you use that as your driver, is what's going to happen. So what you think and what you say to yourself is going to become your reality, isn't it? So you were so focused on being successful and doing this and building it up for those 7 years, and that was really your your training ground for now what you do now. And so through that time, and retail is so different to an online service business. So talk us through how all the things you've learnt from your retail experience and how you learnt your marketing. How did you get all the concepts and ideas? Because now that's what you specialize in, marketing and social media online. It's a complete flip around.
Yeah, it is. And I think that one of the best things, and hindsight, she's a wonderful thing. Like to look back now and go, yeah, that was really good. But at the time, it didn't feel so good. But like I said, I always had a marketing mentor when I was in my retail business. And there was mastermind programs. And for years, probably 3-4 years, I sat in those, mastermind programs. They were face-to-face back then. And I would travel to Melbourne, which is 3.5 hours from me. I'd sit in a room for 2 days with not one other retailer. So there'd be like 14 or 15 service-based businesses. And we would talk about all the different marketing concepts. And I would sit there and go, but how do I adapt that to retail? How does this work for retail? And I think every time I open my mouth, the rest of the people must have gone, oh, for God's sake, she's going to ask how that relates to retail. But I think it taught me to be really analytical with things and really think outside the box, because and admittedly, back then, we only had a very small retail presence. We were we had an eBay presence, and we had an online shop, but look, it didn't do a lot. Our eBay business was probably more successful than our actual online business that we had ourselves, but our bricks and mortar was the major contributor as far as a income stream went. So we weren't online as much as what you would be now, probably, if we had the same business.
No.
But I think being in that room of people who thought differently to me, that spoke differently to me, I think there was just so much that I learnt sitting in that room, being different to them and really having to think of things almost, I guess, again, starting at the end in mind. So if I want to do that, then how do I do that in retail, and having to think backwards from there? And it is something that I teach a lot of my private clients and things like that is, what's the goal, and work backwards. I guess I've introduced that thinking as part of my, I guess, IP as to how I teach people, to grow their businesses.
So powerful. And it's really taught you to be creative in your thinking and to, like you said, if there's a problem, you'll fix it, you'll work out how to get around it. And that is the guts of being an entrepreneur, isn't it? You've got to, because nothing runs smoothly at all.
No. And if it does, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's it. You need those little speed humps along the way. So talk to us about your social media side of what you do, social media marketing, and why it's important, how social media marketing for a online service business is different to an e-com business, and just the whole thing. No pressure.
Look, I suppose social media is such an important part of our marketing, but probably I'd like to say from the outset, it's not your only marketing.
Yes.
So if you are just doing social media, then it's probably time to about what other marketing, where else your ideal clients hanging out that you can tap into them and market to them. Because, again, as your listener has probably heard 1,000 times, you don't own that real estate. Building empires on crown land is not a good idea. It could disappear
Exactly.
tomorrow. You probably, Samantha, you probably like me, you probably see in your social media feed at least a few times a week that someone's been hacked, that they've lost their Instagram account or
Oh,
lost their Facebook
absolutely.
account. And
You have
again,
no
it's kind of like,
control.
yeah, you've got no control. So if that's all you're doing, then, perhaps it's time to think outside the marketing box. So I just want to say that first up.
Yeah. And that's
But as
such an
far as,
important point. So
yeah, it is. But social media still plays such a huge part in our marketing as such. But I guess the biggest difference that I see between service-based businesses and retail businesses, and I'm generalizing here, it's, if you're listening and you're like, well, that's not me, then, I am putting everyone in the same box. But I find often that e-commerce businesses are always in sales strategy mode. They're like, buy my candle, buy my candlestick, buy my balloon, buy my dress, buy my shoes. Like, it's just buy, 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 buy. There's so many service-based businesses are like leading with value, which is amazing. And that is what we're taught to do, value first. But it's kind of like, how far do I have to actually scroll before I know how I can do business with you, or what it is
true.
that you actually sell, or, it's like almost making themselves hard to buy
You make a
from,
good
and not,
point. Yeah.
yeah, not having that sales strategy, like always in maybe the brand awareness strategy, or maybe you're in the engagement strategy, but sort of, call to actions, yes, but the actual buy this now, a lot of service-based businesses kind of miss that. That's probably the biggest difference that I see. And I think you've got to have a combination of everything.
Yeah.
You've got to sometimes sell, you've got to sometimes not sell. So I think that is probably where I see how I can help people the most, is sort of get that overall strategy
Balance.
just a little bit more succinct, that you're not always selling, but you don't forget to sell at the right times and things like that. Yeah.
Perfect. Because, yeah, I think a lot of my clients are very uncomfortable with the selling. So they're very happy to
Mm.
talk and give the value, and to get, build that relationship on social media. But when it comes time to saying, here's my thing, this is what I do, you can work this, buy now, they're like, no,
Yeah.
can't do it. And so that's a
Mm.
big piece of the puzzle missing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, it is, because, we're in the business to make money, to sell some things. So it's and like, there will be obviously your clients who are doing that are probably getting sales, because there is a certain percentage of people that will just consume that value and go, oh, if this is what I get for free, what do I get if I pay? And
exactly.
they're more likely to go and perhaps research that. Whereas there'll be certain other people that will be like, oh, wow, great value, scroll by. Oh, wow, more great value, scroll by. And
That's
it's not
it.
until they see the post that says,
Buy
join
now.
my mastermind, or, buy my program, or buy my thing. They're like, oh, yeah, I like this person. What is it that they're selling? So I guess
That's
at
right.
the end of the day, it's leaving money on the table if you don't sort of have that sales strategy. And on the e-commerce side, I guess it's sort of the other side of, not everyone wants to be sold to all the time.
Mm,
So it's like, what
yes,
else you got for me? You know, I know
that's
you sell candles, but hey, let's have a bit more of a relationship than that transactional one. And, I have this, I don't know where this saying come from. I didn't make it up, but I love it. And it's that people come for the content, but stay for the community. So they'll come for your
true.
content, but they'll hang around for the community, and they'll become repeat buyers because of the community that you
Yeah.
provide them, or referrers through the community that you
Mm.
sort of start to build. So if you're just transactional, again, you're leaving money on the table.
And that's something you focus on a lot in your business, is community building. And
Yeah.
yeah, so how do you go about that with it? What do you say to your clients to help them build their communities, and how do you help them do that?
Yeah, so I guess communities can come in all sorts of different forms. It can come in probably the most obvious one is a Facebook group, but not
Yeah,
everyone wants to run a Facebook group, and they're getting harder and harder. Like, back in 2018, Zuckerberg made them a big thing, and we had great traction. Now traction's still a little bit iffy.
mm,
So they're not the be all and end all, but they're certainly community focused if you make them that way. But it could be one of the other things I sort of talk about a lot from social media is a really great place to meet new people. But the idea of being on social should be to get them off social. So you meet them on social media, you nurture them a little bit on social media, but then you want them on your email list because that's where you can
exactly.
have really dedicated conversations. You can split your list into everyone who wants to talk about X as opposed to everyone who wants to talk about Y, who doesn't want to hear about X, and all of that sort of thing. Like, you can have really deep conversations and deep nurturing on your email list. So that's sort of another way that I would look at that. A
Mm,
community building is on your email list. You
email.
can sort of segment your list. Otherwise, you can just build a community by, having a little, DM group on LinkedIn, or, a little group in Messenger or something like that. Like, it can be
Yeah,
really quite simple, or it can be, quite complex, and
complex
you
as
actually
you.
have a membership or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And you make such a good point about the um, email list building. And I think that's one of the things that new businesses or early on in business, they tend not to focus on enough.
Mm.
They
Yes.
don't see the importance. It's all about the visibility on the social or having your
Mhm.
website right and everything. But you've really got to start early to nurture those relationships. And also because you own your email list, and
Yes.
yeah, you can control all of that, and the algorithms aren't going to muck it up for you.
No, no, exactly. And people say, yeah, but how do you get people to open your emails? And I'm like, well, there's obviously a strategy behind that,
Yeah,
but we're never really looking for 100% open. Like, if you can get 20 or 30% of people on your list to open your email, um, that's probably a lot better than the 5%. 2% who might see your social media posts. So you've kind of got to, go with the data. I'm all about making business decisions based on, some
abs-
data, and digital marketing, is a bit of a gift that way. You can find lots of data to help you make those very strategic decisions as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
really helpful to track everything in your business. No, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is, track it. And the open rates on your emails too, that's a more valuable open than a social post being viewed, because it's someone who's
Hmm.
actually chosen to click that link to sign up to your email
Hmm.
list, and they're actually really, they're more invested in you. So an
Yeah.
email
Yeah.
open is probably more valuable too. So another reason to spend some more time there.
Yeah, and look, even I would go so far as to say the open rate isn't your only metric either. Like, it's top of mind marketing. Like, I send
Yeah,
an email once a week to my list, and they might not open it, but they'll see my name like, oh, it's Thursday. There's a new podcast out. I must go listen to that. Like, they
that's it.
mightn't even read the email. And like e-commerce, I've got a few businesses that I subscribe to, and admittedly, they probably email a little bit too often. Maybe it's once a day or something. And I definitely don't open every one of
No,
those emails. But when I want a new skirt, guess who's top of mind?
that's
The
it. You
person
know exactly
who keeps
where you're
landing in
going.
my inbox. Yeah. So
That's
there's
right.
also metrics that you can't measure as far as the value of email marketing, because you don't know how many people you've just reminded to go to your website, even though they haven't opened your email, simply because they saw your email come through.
Exactly. That's so, so true. So we talked about social media not being your marketing strategy, but what I'm sort of moving back to social media, because that's a question that a lot of people are still confused about,
Yes.
particularly now that it's harder to get the engagement that you once did. It's harder to grow your
Hmm.
follower list. And everyone seems to be copying and pasting everyone else's social strategy. So what's a good way for someone to put together a really solid social media strategy when, obviously they have to know who they're talking to and the purpose, that know their why and connect the dots together. So have you got any little tips for people
Yeah.
listening?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right. Like if you don't know, like obviously the fundamentals of marketing is know who your who is.
Yeah.
I come across so many people who so many small business owners who be like, I hate Instagram. I don't like Instagram. I'm not going on Instagram, this and that. And all of a sudden we dig into who their ideal client is and it's the people on Instagram. And I'm like, well, it's not actually about you. This is
Yeah.
about your business and it's about your clients and or your customers and showing up where they are. So that's probably, obviously knowing who your who is, knowing where they hang out. Obviously you want to be where they hang out. And also having an idea of what you want to be famous for. So that top of mind marketing, if they think handles, you want them to think you. If they think social media strategy, you want them to think you. Whatever it is that you're actually selling, you want to be famous for that particular thing
That's
so that
right.
you are top of mind when they want to buy it. But I think a good solid social media strategy comes back a little bit to what I was talking about before, where having a sales strategy. I talk about 5 different strategies. So there's the sales strategy, there's a brand awareness strategy, a lead generation strategy, a growth strategy, and an engagement strategy.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't say any of those twice.
No, you didn't.
So it's sort of like trying to get a bit of a mix of each one of those. And of course, something that might be a lead generation strategy, for instance, I have this lead magnet sign up here, then it could also be part of your brand awareness strategy.
Yeah.
So these things don't stand alone. And of course, something that is part of your growth strategy could also be part of your sales, or it could be part of your lead gen or something like that. So it's not like you need to think, oh my gosh, I need, something for each one of those, but you just need to make sure you've got some well-rounded strategies, that you're not always selling, you're not always just leading with value, that you are putting out there, your brand awareness,
Yeah.
what do you stand for? What's your brand about? This is who I am type of
Yeah.
thing. So there's all that sort of, that's how I sort of talk about how you can get a well-rounded strategy. But of course, there's the other side with social media is it's in the name. You've got to be social. Like it is
Mm.
actually called social media. So then I start to talk about, having a reach out strategy, which I call my Hansel and Gretel strategy.
I
Basically
like
just
that
spreading
name.
breadcrumbs all around social media so that your business name, whatever, or your name, depending on, how
Yeah.
your business is run, is people sort of notice it because you're commenting on this, or you've, added some value here, or, you've shared this person's post, or you've said congratulations over there. Like you're
Yeah.
just sort of sprinkling those breadcrumbs to make people, curiosity killed the cat. Basically, you want people curious enough to go, who is this person who's just commented, we're not connected,
Yeah.
and go over, have a look at your bio and go, "Oh, this person seems really good. Oh, their content's awesome. I'm going to follow them. Oh, there's something. I'm going to reach out about that." So, again, it's just kind of having that reach out strategy, which, I think a lot of people, especially with scheduling, and I'm not against scheduling. I think, my business wouldn't survive without scheduling in
Exactly.
social media, but you've got to spend the time then to actually go to social media and be social. So whether that's 10 minutes a day, whether
Yeah.
that's 15 minutes every 2 days, whatever that is. And, obviously replying to the people who replied to you,
Yeah.
and also, putting some love, some social love around there as well.
That's it. And that's all part of that community building that you were talking about
Mm,
too. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
So you're very focused on helping the rural community. So what sort of work do you do in your community?
Yeah, I guess one of the reasons why I'm quite focused on a rural community is because, and this is going to sound really terrible. I really should decide whether or not I'm going to say it on a podcast. But anyway,
Ah,
I'll say it. But, when I was in business, we would get these people from, Sydney and Melbourne coming down and, talking to us about our businesses. And I'd sit there and go, really? Do you really know what it's like to run, a business in the country? Like,
yeah,
things are a little bit different. We don't have the numbers that you have in the cities. I
yeah,
think I've probably learned it's not as different as what I thought it was, but
yeah,
I do actually love to go in and, help rural and regional small businesses, whether that be through workshops or keynotes or just, one-to-one conversations with them, because I really feel like I do get their business. I get the peaks and the troughs of, everything that happens out here in rural Australia.
mm,
Um, there's always, something going on in a community that can impact small businesses. Certainly when I had my retail business, if it wasn't a drought and it wasn't a flood and there wasn't bushfires, it was blue-green algae and the tourism were,
yeah,
tourists weren't coming. And there was always something that you had to kind of go, right, okay, what am I going to do now? Because this is not going to work anymore because of X, Y, or Z type of thing. So
exactly.
I just love getting in, and I feel that there's not as many people out there helping rural and regional small businesses. So I guess that's kind of where my passion sort of lies. Yeah. And like, my big Facebook group, Buy from Bush Business, it sort of started back in 2019, in October 2019. We were going through horrific droughts.
Mm.
Back then, it's hard to believe now when everything is
Oh.
just so wet and so green. But, like 4 years ago, it was horrific droughts, and it was
Absolutely.
October. I was traveling around, the Riverina, and no one was excited about Christmas, because one of the things when you live in a rural area is if farmers don't have money, towns don't have money. Like, if farmers have a really good cropping season, they're going to come to town and they're going to spend their money. It might not
Yeah.
be with the jeweler, but it might be, with the chemical guy who then employs more people, that they come and spend money in the jeweler. And,
True.
it just injects more money into the community. So I guess my thought was, how can I help like these people get more traction into their business?
Mm.
And, a Facebook group just seemed like the obvious answer. And little did I know that bushfires, floods, COVID,
Oh,
and a mouse plague were going to come, that again, rural and regional communities would need more and more help with. So um
absolutely. It's such a
yeah.
different perspective. Like, you did say at one point, marketing and the approach for city is not too different to country, but in reality, the real day-to-day living, we don't in the city, we don't have all those challenges that you do.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
we can be in drought and we might get some water restrictions,
yes.
but that is not the same as you not being able to, as a farmer, not being able to um, do their core business of crops
Yeah.
or cattle dying or
Mm,
it's really heavy, a really huge impact that we don't understand so much. So I think
yeah.
for the rural community, having someone who really is there, is really understands them and appreciates and values them, would be such a lovely, oh, breathe out moment. They feel supported
Yeah.
and connected, and having that
Yeah.
community, because community is different in the country too. It's
Yeah. It
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of my city friends, and like I still do work with city businesses. It's not that I don't
yeah,
work with them. I just have a passion for rural and regional. But I know quite a few of my city friends during the pandemic would kind of come, and we did have conversations over virtual wines. And they'd be like, I know what you mean about community now. I've met more of my neighbors in the last 6 weeks than I have in the last 6 years of living here, because, they could only go a certain distance, or,
yeah,
they were kind of like, oh, I'm ordering online. I should ask, the elderly lady upstairs, does she need milk? And I could get it delivered with
yeah,
her for her, and all this sort of thing. Like, I think that everyone sort of learnt the value of community during that time. And, it's like, yep. that's what we kind of knew.
It's
You know,
beautiful.
we all knew that already, and now, everyone's kind of learning that power of community. But it is really important. And again, it comes to that story of mine of, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I would never have said I was from the country. And now I wear it almost like a badge of honor when I
Yeah.
get in front of, some rural and regional businesses doing a workshop. And one of the first things is I say, I live on a farm. And I think they're all kind of like, she gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
straight away, I built that rapport with them. This was like, yeah, okay, she knows, how it feels to run a business, or,
Absolutely.
or she has some idea. Like, I
Mm.
don't know everything, but yes, has some empathy for what we're going through.
Yeah, you've got that connector there. And for a farmer to go off what he or she does every single day to jumping on a Zoom call, that's a
Mm,
huge, just they've had a lot of learning that that
yes.
we take for granted every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're helping them through all of that. It's wonderful. Um,
Mm.
yeah. Now tell us about your book that you're working on. I was going to ask you before we started talking, is it Secret Squirrel Business? Can we mention it? But you brought it up, so I know that it's okay.
Yeah, again, it's just kind of, like obviously I'm a marketer. I love marketing. I've always thought there's a book inside me, but never really knew what that sort of looked like. And it was just a bit of a tap on the shoulder from, one of my mentors. It's just like, is there any books out there that talk to rural and regional small businesses
Mhm.
about marketing? I'm like, I don't know that there is. And so that's just kind of where the idea came from. But it's basically a tips book. So I'm not sure how many tips it'll have in it at the moment. I think at the moment I'm sitting at about 123. So it'll be something like
A lot of tips.
123 ways to
Yeah.
market your business in the country, or something along those lines. And the idea of the book is not necessarily to read it cover to cover, but to be able to open it and go, oh, I haven't tried, a Facebook ad. What does Jen say about a Facebook ad? Oh,
Okay.
okay. This is how you sort of do that. Or magazine advertising. Jen, are you kidding me? Is that really something in 2023? Oh, I didn't realize, this, and this. Oh, that's really interesting. I should, perhaps look further into that, or
Yeah.
try that, or, and networking, if there's not a network, maybe it's time you started
Start a
one, type of
network.
thing. So yeah, that's the kind of book that I'm trying to, well, draft 1 is done, draft 2 is half done. So
Okay.
hopefully, it won't be, too far away by the time this year finishes out. But, yeah, so it's just
That sounds
that.
brilliant. Just the
Yeah.
perfect type of book that you can pick up and go
Yes.
to, "Oh, I've been thinking about this," or someone mentioned that, and just go to that part, and then you can
Mm.
guide them along for that little bit, and
Yeah.
they can try it and pop the book down and pick it up again when they need. Perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want people to do. Absolutely. And again, business marketing isn't that different in the country, but the way we talk about it is just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so I feel that, just putting it on their level, like, talking about towns as opposed to suburbs, and talking about community as opposed to this, and just little different things
Yeah.
that, is just slightly different. So yeah, I'm excited. It'll be
It's
really
very
good, hopefully.
exciting. And does it have a name yet? Have we got a name to look out
Well,
for?
it doesn't
Not
have a
yet?
name yet, but like I said, it'll probably be something like 123 ways to market your business in the
Yeah.
country, or something. I'm
Something
very
along those
much,
lines.
have a title, say what it is, like my business is Social Media and Marketing Australia. Guess what we do? You know, my
Yeah.
podcast is, Small Business Made Simple. Guess what
Guess
I'm
what we
trying to
do?
do? Like,
Well, we
I'm
will
kind of
watch
like,
this.
don't leave them guessing.
No, that's it. That's brilliant. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that, and maybe
Thank
when
you.
it's launched, you can come back on
Oh,
and tell us
love
all about
that.
the book. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that.
So have you got any little last snippets of wisdom to leave for anybody today?
I think probably just reiterating a couple of things that I've said, just nudges. I love to give people nudges. But like you said, a lot of people when they're starting out, perhaps they don't concentrate so much on email marketing. We
Yeah.
tend to go straight to opening our social accounts and working from there. It's never too late to start an email list, and it's something that I would highly recommend that people, if you're not doing it, to start doing it. And if you've got a list and you're not nurturing that list, then perhaps have a bit of a think about what that strategy could look like.
Yeah.
And also maybe do an audit on your social media from what we've kind of talked about. Do you ever sell? Do you always sell? Are you sort of, building your brand, or, what
Yeah.
is it that you're doing in your social media? And just have a bit of I guess, a strategic look and go, "Oh gosh, it was 3 months ago the last time I shared a photo of myself or shared anything about my
Mm.
business," or it was 6 weeks ago since I asked people if they would like to buy something. Or on the other hand, it's just like, that's all I ever do is ask people to buy my things.
Yes.
Gosh, I need to have a bit more of a well-rounded strategy, and just start there, just with a bit of, I guess, analysis, audit, and a bit more thinking, and maybe go and have a look at, some people that you really love on the platforms, and have a look about, what does their strategy look like, and things like that. So that's probably the two biggest things. And also, if social media is your only marketing, please start to think outside the square, because A, it's not a great way to run a business, but B, I really would hate for you to have lost that and therefore really have that impact on your business in a negative way. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's so, so important, and a really good tip to have a look at what you're actually doing, and pull that to pieces, because what you think you're doing might be completely different to what you're actually doing. And it's not until you deep dive into that you figure that out. So
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Jen. It's been fabulous talking with you and hearing your story. And yeah, I'm there's probably a lot more I could ask you about all the different areas you got your fingers in. It's quite
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been such a great, there's a few stories that I've told here that I don't think I've ever told before, or,
oh, that's
heard
good.
myself talk about. So you've been a great question asker. So thank
Oh, thank
you.
you. It's lovely to chat with you, and yeah, hear everything about your story, and I know our listeners will appreciate it too. And I'll make sure to put links to you and your services in the show notes. And have you got a particular lead generation thing you want to share today, or anything like that? Or
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Samantha. Uh, Probably one of the biggest questions I get asked is, what to post on social media. So I have a lead magnet that is 108 social media content creation ideas, which is probably my most downloaded lead magnet. It's not fancy. The idea is that it's printable, so it's not full of, pretty pictures or anything
yep.
like that. But there is literally 108 ways to market your business in that. So you can
Wow.
find that at 108social.com.au, or just go to my website and have a look under the freebies section. My website, of course, is socialmediaandmarketing.com.au.
Perfect. And I'll pop those two links down below too. So
You?
thank you again, Jen. It's been fabulous having you. And
Yeah, it's been fun.
yeah,
Thanks, Samantha.
pleasure.